All right, today we're going to talk about something wild. The story of Sora, OpenAI's video AI. You remember this, right? It was supposed to change everything, and then, poof, it just vanished.
And this quote, man, it just nails it, doesn't it? That really captures the whole vibe. I mean, for a few crazy, chaotic months, Sora was the only thing anyone in tech was talking about. And then, nothing. Just silence.
So the big question is, what the heck happened, right? How does one of the most powerful AI tools we've ever seen, something that could literally create movie-quality scenes from just a few words, just implode? Well, that's exactly the mystery we're going to dig into today.
Okay, so let's rewind. To really get this, we have to go back to the beginning, to how Sora just exploded onto the scene. And I mean exploded. This wasn't just some new app update, you know? It felt like it completely broke what we thought AI could even do.
So back in February 2024, OpenAI drops these demos of Sora, and jaw-dropping doesn't even begin to cover it. People were shocked. You could type in a simple prompt, and out would come these incredibly realistic, complex videos. We're talking videos that look like they were shot for a feature film. This wasn't some cheap trick. It felt like a massive, genuine leap into the future.
And the whole thing happened so fast, it's kind of hard to believe. Just look at this timeline. It launches for ChatGPT Plus users in December 2024. By September of the next year, boom, Sora 2 is its own TikTok-style app. It goes absolutely viral, peaking at over 3.3 million downloads in November. And then, just a few months later, March 2026, OpenAI pulls the plug. Gone. That's an insane life cycle for any product.
And the impact wasn't just online buzz. It was immediate, and it was huge. You have filmmaker Tyler Perry, who is in the middle of building an $800 million studio expansion, and he puts the whole thing on hold, indefinitely, all because of what he saw Sora could do. That tells you everything you need to know about the shockwave this sent through Hollywood and beyond.
But, you know, with that kind of power, there's always a flip side. All that excitement and awe, it turned to alarm, and it happened fast. As soon as Sora 2 was out in the wild as its own app, people immediately started pushing the boundaries to see what they could get away with. And well, things got chaotic. Fast.
And a huge part of the problem, maybe the core of it, was OpenAI's whole approach to copyright. It was controversial, to say the least. See, their policy was that copyright holders had to opt out of having their stuff used. So instead of asking for permission, they just took it and put the burden on everyone else to say no. Sam Altman tried to spin this as, a cool new way to make interactive fan fiction. But if you were a creator, it felt like they were just kicking the door down.
And yeah, those creators were right to be worried, because within days, the app was just flooded, and not with artistic masterpieces. We're talking Nazi SpongeBob, Rick and Morty shilling crypto, a shoplifting Pikachu, Wednesday Addams having dinner with Peter Griffin, deepfakes of Martin Luther King Jr. It got so crazy, people were even making videos of Sam Altman himself stealing from Target. The whole thing just became a total Wild West.
And this is where you see how big the gap was between what OpenAI said they were doing and what was actually happening. They said they banned public figures. Yeah, that was bypassed in 24 hours. The opt-out copyright system, all it did was create chaos. And those watermarks they said would be on every video, turns out you could scrub them off in like 4 minutes with free tools online. The so-called safeguards just didn't work.
So, you can probably guess what happened next. Hollywood did not take this well. Their entire industry is built on intellectual property, and they responded with, well, absolute fury.
Yeah, top execs in Hollywood felt like they'd been completely played. One agent from a major agency, WME, came right out and said it. They felt OpenAI was purposefully misleading them in meetings before the launch. Basically, that OpenAI knew exactly how powerful this thing was and how few protections it had, but they downplayed it all.
And pretty soon, it wasn't just one or two angry agents, it was a wave. A huge coalition formed against Sora. You had the biggest talent agencies, WME and CAA, opting out all their A-list clients, calling it exploitation. Advocacy groups started flagging the rise of niche digital harassment and deepfakes. Even the estates of Robin Williams and George Carlin were pleading for action against what they called hurtful videos. It even went international, with groups in Japan representing companies like Studio Ghibli demanding OpenAI stop.
Okay, so things are looking really bad for OpenAI, right? The battle lines are drawn, they're cornered, but then something absolutely wild happens. Out of nowhere, it looks like they pull a rabbit out of the hat. A move that seemed to suggest a totally different path forward was possible. Get this.
A $1 billion deal with Disney. In December 2025, they announced this massive 3-year partnership. Disney would invest $1 billion, and in return, Sora would get the keys to the kingdom. Official, licensed access to characters from Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, the whole shebang. For a second there, it really looked like peace had broken out.
But that peace lasted for, well, about 5 minutes. The story goes that the Disney team was literally in a meeting with OpenAI to talk about the partnership. 30 minutes after that meeting ends, they get the news that Sora is being shut down. They were totally blindsided. One person close to the deal called it a big rug pull. Just unbelievable.
So let's be super clear here. That landmarked billion-dollar deal that everyone was talking about, the one that was going to save Sora and make this whole thing legit, it never happened. The deal never closed. No money ever changed hands. It was just smoke.
So if it wasn't the Disney deal falling through, what was it? Well, to really understand why Sora had to die, you gotta follow the money. It wasn't just about the copyright chaos and the angry movie studios. The numbers tell a very different and maybe even more important story.
Remember that huge viral spike in downloads? Well, it turns out that was just a flash in the pan. After peaking in November, the novelty just wore off. Big time. Downloads completely tanked. You can see they fell from over 3 million to just over 1 million in a couple of months. People tried it, thought it was cool, and then moved on. The long-term interest just wasn't there.
And this right here is the real killer. It gets to the core problem for a lot of these big AI models. Making these incredible videos costs an insane amount of money and computing power. It's just massively expensive. And what was the app making? Over its entire life, it only pulled in about $2 million from in-app purchases. So you've got this thing that's costing a fortune to run, and it's barely making any money. For a company like OpenAI, it was becoming a very expensive side quest.
So what did they do? They pivoted. Hard. OpenAI's new obsession became what they call agentic tools. Now, these aren't fun consumer toys. These are powerful AI systems for big companies. Tools that can write their own code, analyze huge amounts of data, basically do complex work on their own. That's where the real money is, especially if you're thinking about going public with an IPO. Suddenly, Sora, the fun video app, just looked like a distraction.
So, after all that, the spectacular launch, the chaos, the billion-dollar ghost deal, the shutdown, what's the big takeaway? What's the lesson from Sora's short, wild ride?
I think this quote really brings it all home. What it outpaced was everything around it. See, the amazing thing about Sora is that the technology itself wasn't the failure. The tech was incredible. It worked. What failed was, well, everything else. The legal system wasn't ready, the ethical rules weren't there, the business model didn't make sense, and maybe most importantly, our own interest in it didn't last. The big lesson here is that you can have the most powerful tech in the world, but if the world isn't ready for it, it just doesn't matter.
And that leaves us with one last kind of scary question. Was Sora's failure a necessary lesson for the AI industry? A wake-up call? Or was this whole spectacular mess just a preview of the even bigger chaos that's still to come?